In my view, one of the most important differences between Sudan and South Africa is the degree of racial and ethnic warfare that has taken place in Sudan. I believe that once a country crosses the line into wholesale ethnic or racial warfare with widespread killings, atrocities, and disruptions, it is much harder to put the society back together. The memories, the deep distrust, the still lingering hunger for revenge all make reconciliation harder. South Africa had terrible years of repression and much violence against the black majority and its supporters. There are deep-seated memories and anger still. But South Africa never fell into major racial war. And moreover, though the apartheid population, through the creation of the so-called homelands and assigned ethnic citizenship to them, it did not, fortunately, systematically arm one of them to attack the other. South Africa came close to open warfare on more than one occasion, but each time stepped back from the brink. And in the face of efforts to stoke ethnic division, or indeed racial hatred, the ANC forged instead a unity of purpose among all the groups that make up the majority, and in the end reached out for racial harmony and a multiracial society. A second contrast between the experience of South Africa and Sudan comes with the role of leaders. But there are also some very valuable lessons there. Leaders matter. South Africa was blessed in the final years of its transition with what I once termed as the quality of leaders a country gets perhaps once in 100 years. I need not dwell on the qualities of those who brokered the final transition, Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk. It is sufficient to say that they each won the Nobel Peace Prize. They could build together upon a vision of a country transformed into which all could live in peace. Now, another lesson from South Africa is that the transition in 1994 wasn't just a transition out of apartheid, it was a fundamental transformation of the political system of the country. The economic transformation that's needed is taking much longer. But one of the promises of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, which has not been realized, was the political transformation of Sudan and South Sudan, and that has not really taken place. There is a need for a different political system in both countries, and both are still in the process of trying to develop them. And instead of that process having taken place, there is, as the ambassador pointed out, a conflict that's broken out within the Republic of Sudan, in the states of Southern Kordofan and Blue Nile, and a conflict that continues at a low level in Darfur. And those from these regions are now waging war against the regime in Khartoum, and have banded together in what they call the Sudan Revolutionary Front, committed to forcibly overthrowing the Khartoum regime. Many of the leaders of this SRF claim to be tired of negotiations, tired of what they feel were half-implemented agreements, backtracking, political oppression, undermining of the processes of consultation. They see overthrow as the only alternative. Not all of them. Some of them still hold out a hope for a negotiated transformation, but right now, the avenues of dialogue are blocked, and some of the past horrendous practices of warfare are being seen again. And here's the lesson from South Africa. It was Nelson Mandela that urged the ANC to take up the armed struggle, to create the MK, and to wage both a political and military battle. But Nelson Mandela would reveal that his goal was not so much to overthrow the regime, a task perhaps too great or costly to be achieved, but to use the armed struggle as a means to bring the government to negotiate. And once that door opened, truly opened, Mandela and indeed the ANC went through that door, and history was made. I want to take this occasion to urge South Africa to to a looming humanitarian disaster that could take place in Sudan, and to appeal to South Africa once again to arise to its own leadership role to prevent it. The tragedy, as well remembered in Rwanda, occurred just as South Africa was emerging from apartheid and not yet fully engaged in African affairs as a free nation. But shortly afterwards, South Africa did move boldly and with both political and military resources to prevent a similar tragedy in Burundi. Nelson Mandela, Jacob Zuma, and others personally played a major mediating role. South African peacekeepers protected the peace process in Burundi, and later a UN force would follow and help consolidate it. We need a different, but a no less critical and no less urgent role from South Africa and other African countries today. I've spoken of the conflict taking place in southern Kordofan and Blue Nile, and other speakers have as well. This is a tough conflict with deep political issues. But in the middle, between the two contending parties, are hundreds of thousands of civilians rapidly running out of food and medicine. There was a recent assessment by the Famine Emergency Warning System, a system which analyzes potential food shortages in the future and the possibilities of famine. And they predict that by March, these areas, perhaps up to 500,000 people, will be facing an emergency condition bordering on famine. The dilemma is that the government of Sudan today does not allow international humanitarian access to these areas. There are complex reasons that the government feels it should not do so in this situation. But the prospect of hundreds of thousands of people dying with no access to food or medicine is something we can't accept. And it really depends much more on African leadership than that from the United States to find a way through this. The African Union meets later this month, and we hope that it will be on the agenda of the African Union, and that African leaders will work with the government of Sudan to prevent what could be a horrific tragedy, one that will rattle the souls of Africa and the world for many years to come. But we can prevent it. There's time to do it. And it needs the role of respected international agencies like the World Food Program, like UNICEF, not the Americans, not the NGOs, just those international humanitarian agencies to be allowed to come in to those areas and prevent what could be a colossal disaster. South Africa, a member of the Security Council, indeed the chair of the Security Council this month, one of the great leaders of Africa, we look to play a role in helping prevent this. And I know South Africa will do everything it can. And so, in that moment, I point to the role that South Africa has played in its own transition, as it played in Burundi, and the lessons that now can be applied